We're back with the Superval Super Snub 38 Special Plus P, and I got a lot of requests to test it through the 4-inch barrel because we should see a lot better velocity and performance out of the 4-inch barrel versus the stub nose revolver. So we're going to see what kind of velocity numbers we're going to get and what it will do to water jugs and wood. And in comparison, I'm going to compare it to something on the total opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to 38 Special Plus P. This is a 90 grain 38 Special Plus P by Superval, and I'm estimating we'll probably get somewhere around 1500 feet per second. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Lead Bullets for Life, 170 grain lead semi-wad cutter coated. And I'm estimating probably about half the velocity. So we have a bullet that's almost twice the weight at half the velocity, and a bullet that's almost half the weight at twice the velocity. That's a real apples to oranges comparison. So we're going to see what they'll do to water jugs and wood in comparison, because it's two ends of the spectrum. And we'll see what kind of velocity we get with the 4-inch barrel and the Superval. I'm really interested to find out myself. So let's get started with the test. Right here is the Superval 90 grain plus P. We'll see what kind of velocity we get from about 6 yards to the chronograph with the 4-inch barrel. It's rated at 1,300 feet per second out of a 1.875 inch snub nose. So let's see if we get any more with the 4-inch barrel. $15.69. A duplicate of $15.69. $15.83, $15.86, $15.41. I haven't crunched the numbers yet, but I'm willing to bet this is probably the most powerful 38 Special Plus P to date. And out of this, it feels like a 38 Special. That's a very powerful 38 Special round. Another thing to point out is Superval does claim to be under SAMI specifications. That would put them at no more than 20,000 PSI. That is a good amount of performance at that 20,000 PSI. Now let's see how the 170 grain lead semi-wad cutter bullets compare out of this. I have 3.2 grains of tight group. They should be a very low velocity, but we'll see what we get out of the 4-inch barrel. Here's the Lead Bullets for Life 170 grain lead semi-wad cutters with 3.2 grains of tight groove. 716, 709, 732, 722, 741. Very consistent velocity. Recoil is a little tiny bit less than the Superval, but not by much. Here's the Superval. We're going to go through 4 layers of denim in the water jugs to see what we get. Wow. That's some serious frontal impact on that first jug. This is devastatingly, this is gone. I see something interesting in jug 2 and 3. Oh wow, all kinds of little fragments. We got about 6 lead fragments. We have a hole in jug 3, and it looks like the majority of the bullet is in the bottom of jug 3. I'm not going to provide any measurements on this because you can kind of see it would be kind of hard to, but we got about 8 fragments and the bullet itself and a separated jacket. That is a lot of power. So penetration is definitely low on water jugs, but it just exploded that bullet into just nothing. Let's see how the 170 grain lead semi-wad cutter compares. We should get, no fragmentation obviously, and probably better penetration. Let's see how that does. All right, here's the 170 grain lead semi-wad cutter. Alright, got a nice clean hit. And we got the lead semi-wad cutter effect going on in the first jug. where we cut a perfectly clean hole through it. That's pretty cool. And we got a straight pass through every jug. And the point of impact on the back of the 6th jug is pretty much identical to the point of impact on the 1st jug. So we hit and we just went clean on through to the other side. So a lot of penetration with that, but we were cutting a clean hole the whole time. And that's kind of where you get the lead semi-wad cutter, what it's kind of intended to be. It's a good target load, but also it's got the point on it, and the point will aid in penetration. Yet the semi-wad cutter on the outside will also cut through everything that's going through. That's why it's been known as a really good hunting round, because it cuts everything as it goes, but it still has that little bit of a tip that will keep pushing through with penetration. So comparing these two rounds, definitely there's no comparison in penetration, and there's no comparison in expansion either, because they act totally different than one another. Both pretty good rounds. So obviously power goes to the Super Vel, but penetration goes to the lead semi-wad cutter 170 grain. Penetrated very far like I thought it would. Now let's see if these rounds will do to wood. Alright, let's hit the 2x4 with the Super Vel, then we'll switch it over and we'll try the 170 grain. So here's the 90 grain Super Vel. Knocked it down pretty quick there. Alright, now here's the 170 grain semi-wad cutter. Very different in the way they sound from one another. Let's cut that thing open and see what we got. And here's the Super Vel. Here is the semi-wad cutter. And we caught the semi-wad cutter in just the board 1. It cracked the back here, but it caught it. I can see the base of the bullet. Looks like it's almost out. Like, yeah, I can see it. I can see a little bit of its coloration through this crack, just barely. The Super Vel, we actually caught that in the first board as well. However, not really, because here's board 2. It's halfway through board 2. It crushed it right open. So that's quite the impact on board 2. But here's the back of board 1. Can almost get it out of there. Alright, I got it out. It's surprisingly intact. So what we're dealing with here, though, you can tell, it's a fairly thin jacket, and it's definitely a very soft lead alloy, because it's a very much fragmented. It's not unlike most of the 357s I see, actually, although I think the lead alloy is a little bit softer than most 357s, but it's close. And the jacket appears to be thinner than most 357s. Basically, you got something that is actually beating some 357 Magnum ammo as far as foot-pounds energy, but the lead alloy and jacket is more typical of something like a plated short barrel bullet design. So that's why we're getting that fragmentation. So it can't really hold up to penetration very well through really anything, because the alloy is very soft. Something like this 170 grain, though, that'll penetrate really well because there's a lot of lead to resist impact. So my takeaway from this is it seems like it's a decent ammo, fairly consistent on the 4-inch, but not out of the 2-inch. So as far as a powerful 38 load for a 4-inch 38 Special Revolver, like a model 64, 67, something like that, it would be an incredible load at just 20,000 or less PSI, but we're getting Magnum performance pretty much. So if you have something like that, a Model 10, Model 64, I would say look into this round, because you're going to get a lot of power out of it. And was it spanked by the 9mm? No, I would say that spanked the 9mm. This is a pretty powerful cartridge. So that's what you're getting today versus a 170 lead semi-water cutter versus a Super Vel 90 grain. Really is super. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.